It's early Sabbath morning. The sun isn't even out yet. I'm up early, got a good night's sleep. Um, and I was reading Ellen White, and I never really caught this before. Every time I read something from Ellen White, like she's not equal to the Bible, but she points us to the Bible. But every time I read her, I learn something new. And I'm reading about in Patriarchs and Prophets of Cain, she writes. Now, Cain was the older brother who hated his younger brother, right? Ended up killing him. He was very jealous of his younger brother for many reasons, I'm sure. And I never caught the idea she writes here that, like Adam was the head of the race of the world, and we know Adam will be in heaven. Cain, on the other hand, she says, well, I'll read it to you. She says, upon receiving the curse of God, Cain had withdrawn from his father's household. He had first chosen his occupation as a tiller of the soil, and he now founded a city, calling it after the name of his eldest son. I don't know if that's Nimrod. I haven't got to that yet. And she says, he had gone out from the presence of the Lord, cast away the promise of the restored Eden to seek his possessions and enjoyment in the earth under the curse of sin. And here's the interesting statement. Thus standing at the head of that great class of men who worship the God of this world, in that which pertains to mere earthly and material progress, his descendants became distinguished. So the older brother, ends up being the head, she says, the head of that great class of men who worship the God of this world. Yeah. Because back then, and I was listening to Pastor Carter preach on Genesis 6 yesterday when I was hitting golf balls, the lines of humanity back then, of humans, was clearly distinct. There were those who worshiped God, and that would have been the line of the other son, the good son, who came after Abel, after Abel was murdered by his older brother. That's the good line, Seth, and all the way down to Noah. But the bad line was Cain and the Nimrod and some others. And the two classes, here she says, for some time the two classes remained separate. So, yeah, Cain bears a big responsibility for the wicked line that will become so wicked that God will eventually have to punish or destroy the earth with a flood. It's very interesting to read because that's where we are now. Jesus said, as in the days of Noah. Jesus believed in Noah. He quoted about Noah, that in the end times so shall it be. I'm reading this morning the crime, if you read Daily Mail UK, the crime, the violence, the hate, the sexual perversion, the drugs, it's just beyond, we don't recognize this world anymore. And these are the conditions that will exist just prior to when Christ comes back. But Cain, the older brothers don't have a real good history in the Bible. And for whatever reason, they're often bad guys, just really nasty, vile, foul, godless people. They're vagabonds like Cain. He was a vagabond who roamed the earth, no home, no place of rest, a permanent, home. and just looking to satisfy all of his earthly desires and gratifications, food, sexual needs. That's all they live for. And it got to in the day, as Pastor Carter was talking about, in the days of Noah, that's all people did, great evil men. So that's interesting to me. Nobody believes this, of course. No schools teach this. They say that's all fairy tale Bible stuff, and yet when you read Ellen White, you listen to people like Pastor Carter and Lonnie, my late friend, and others in especially in the Adventist church. This is all real. This is not a fairy tale. It's not a story. This is all literal, real history. It's as real as a civil war, as that history, and we're reliving it now. So that's interesting to me. Cain, what a horrible human being. He's going to die in hell. There's going to be so many that are going to burn in hell for their wickedness, their lies, and the things that they spread, and their greed and their sexual perversion, their addiction to drugs, and they're going to burn in hell. It's going to be awful for them, really bad suffering. They're going to wish and cry for the rocks. I was thinking, how bad is it going to be when you actually ask the rocks to fall on you? That's the future they have. And it's like people that jumped out of the World Trade Center. It was so bad up there. The better option was to jump out of a 100-story building. Well, that's going to be when Christ returns, and then the judgment. The better option is to please have these rocks fall on me, because the Bible says they will pray. They'll pray. They don't pray to God, but they pray to rocks. Isn't that something? All right, it's good. Good morning worship hour here on the Sabbath. All right.